Marcus Webb's hands were shaking when he walked out of Patterson John Deere in Cedar Falls, Iowa. It was April 2014. He'd just been denied credit for a used tractor, a 12-year-old 4430 listed at $28,000. He'd offered $8,000 down, asked to finance $20,000. Denied. Not because of bad credit. Marcus had no credit history at all. He was 28 years old, had worked construction for 6 years, saved $23,000 and wanted to start farming. Rented 240 acres from an old farmer willing to give him a chance. But banks wouldn't give him a chance. Too young. No farming history. No collateral beyond his pickup truck. Steve Patterson, the dealership owner, had been direct. "Marcus, you seem like a good kid, but you're too poor for credit. No assets, no track record, no co-signer. We can't help you. Maybe try buying something cheaper at an auction, or find a different career." Too poor for credit. Those 4 words burned into Marcus's mind as he drove his 2006 Silverado back to the small rental house he shared with his wife Amy and their infant daughter. He'd been excited that morning. Thought he'd buy the tractor, start farming, build something. Now he had nothing. No tractor, no credit, no options. That night, sitting at his kitchen table, Marcus told Amy, "Steve Patterson said I'm too poor for credit. Said I should find a different career." Amy, holding their 3-month-old daughter, said quietly, "What are you going to do?" Marcus looked at his wife. "I'm going to prove him wrong. I don't know how yet. But 10 years from now, I'm going to walk into that dealership and buy tractors with cash. Plural, multiple tractors, cash. And I'm going to make sure Steve Patterson remembers this day." Amy smiled. "Okay, let's do it." That conversation became Marcus's fuel for the next decade. He couldn't afford a $28,000 tractor, so he bought a 1968 International 856 at auction for $4,200. Old, worn, barely functional, but it ran. He spent 3 weeks and $800 rebuilding the hydraulics, replacing worn parts, making it farmable. He farmed his 240 rented acres with that 856 in 2014. Did everything himself. Planting, spraying, harvesting. Worked 16-hour days. Grossed $41,000 that first year. After rent and expenses, netted $8,400. Not enough to live on. So Marcus kept his construction job, worked construction 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. 5 days a week, farmed 4 p.m. until dark, farmed all day Saturday and Sunday. His wife Amy worked night shifts as a nurse 3 nights per week, slept 4 hours, watched their daughter during the day. They lived on her nursing income, $42,000 annually. Saved every penny Marcus made farming, every penny from construction overtime, every tax refund, every bonus. 2014, saved $11,200 2015, saved $14,800 2016, saved $18,400 by end of 2016. Marcus had $44,400 saved, used it to buy a second tractor, a 1974 John Deere 4430 for $11,800 at auction, rented another 160 acres, now farming 400 acres while working full-time construction. People thought he was insane, working 80-hour weeks, sleeping 5 hours a night. His daughter barely saw him. His wife managed everything at home. But Marcus had a goal: prove Steve Patterson wrong. 2017, netted $22,600 from farming, $8,200 from construction overtime, saved $2,100. 2018, netted $26,800 from farming, $9,400 from construction, saved $31,800. 2019, netted $31,200 from farming, $7,800 from construction, saved $35,400. By end of 2019, Marcus had $139,700 saved, bought 160 acres at auction for $2,840 per acre, $414,400 total, put down $139,700 cash, financed $314,700. Now he owned land. That changed everything. Banks saw him differently. He had collateral, he had equity, he had credibility. In 2020, Marcus expanded to 640 acres. His 160 owned, plus 480 rented. Bought better equipment. Quit construction in March 2020. Finally, after 6 years of working 2 jobs. Now farming full-time, his income jumped. Netted $87,000 in 2020. Saved $72,000 after living expenses. 2021, netted $104,000. Saved $86,000. 2022 netted $118,000, saved $96,000. 2023 netted $142,000 due to strong grain prices, saved $118,000. By January 2024, Marcus had $511,000 saved. His 160 acres originally bought for $452,400 were now worth $720,000. His equity, $405,300 after paying loan down to $314,700. Total net worth, approximately $916,000. Marcus was 38 years old. 10 years earlier, he'd been rejected for a $20,000 loan. Now he had nearly $1 million in net worth. More importantly, he remembered his promise. 10 years from now, I'm going to walk into that dealership and buy tractors with cash. It was April 2024. Exactly 10 years. Marcus walked into Patterson John Deere on a Tuesday morning. Wore clean jeans, a flannel shirt, work boots. Looked like any farmer. Steve Patterson was behind the counter, now 62, still running the dealership. Steve didn't recognize Marcus. Why would he? Marcus had been a nobody 10 years ago, just another young guy with dreams and no money. "Can I help you?" Steve asked. "I want to buy 8 tractors, new, cash." Steve looked up, studied Marcus's face. 8 tractors. "Yes. I'm expanding my operation. Need modern equipment. I have a list." Marcus pulled out a paper. 2 8R 370 tractors, biggest row crop models, 3 7R 330 tractors, 2 6R 230 tractors, 1 5R 125 utility tractor. Steve calculated mentally. 2 8R 370s at roughly $475,000 each, $950,000. 3 7R 330s at roughly $385,000 each, $155,000. 2 6R 230s at roughly $245,000 each, $490,000. 1 5R 125 at roughly $180,000, $180,000. Total, approximately $2,175,000. Steve looked at Marcus. "Sir, that's nearly $3 million in equipment. Are you looking to finance through John Deere Financial?" "No, cash. I want to pay cash for all 8 tractors." Steve's expression shifted. This wasn't a normal Tuesday morning inquiry. "Cash? You want to pay $2.8 million cash?" "I have the money. Can you deliver these models within 90 days? Steve was processing. "Sir, I need to verify this is a serious inquiry." "What's your name?" "Marcus Webb." Steve's face went blank. The name was familiar, but he couldn't place it. "Have we met before?" "Yes, April 2014. I came in asking for credit to buy a used 4430. You told me I was too poor for credit, told me to find a different career." Steve's memory clicked. He remembered now. Young kid, construction worker, wanted to farm, had no credit history. Steve had turned him down. Standard risk assessment. The kid had nothing. "You're that Marcus Webb?" "Same one. 10 years ago you said I was too poor for credit. Today I'm paying cash for 8 tractors, $2.8 million cash." Steve was speechless. He'd rejected hundreds of credit applications over the years. Most of those people never came back. Some found financing elsewhere. Most gave up on farming. But this guy, this construction worker with no assets and no history, was standing in front of him offering to pay $2.8 million cash for equipment. "Marcus, I need to apologize. I didn't mean to." "You don't need to apologize. You made a business decision based on information you had. I had no assets, no history, no track record. You were right to deny me credit. But I decided that day that I'd come back and pay cash. Took 10 years. Here I am." Steve asked the obvious question. "How did you do this? How did you go from nothing to $2.8 million in 10 years? Marcus smiled. "I worked 2 jobs for 6 years, saved every penny, lived on my wife's nursing income, bought cheap equipment at auctions. Rented land, built up, bought my first 160 acres with cash down in 2019, kept expanding, kept saving. And here we are. You worked construction and farmed simultaneously? For 6 years, 80-hour weeks, barely saw my family. My daughter was 3 months old when you rejected my credit application. She's 10 now. She hardly remembers those first 6 years because I was never home, but it was worth it. Steve was moved. Marcus, I've sold equipment for 38 years. I've never met someone who did what you did. Most people I reject either find financing elsewhere or quit. You built an empire. I built what I had to build. You said I was too poor. I decided to become rich enough that poor wasn't a problem. Steve processed the order. 8 tractors. Delivery timeline 90 days. Total with delivery and setup, $2,943,000. How do you want to pay? Wire transfer. I'll send it from my bank today. You verify receipt, we sign contracts, you order the equipment. Marcus sent the wire transfer at 2:47 p.m. that afternoon. $2,143,000 from his account at First Community Bank to Patterson John Deere. Steve verified receipt at 3:12 p.m., called Marcus. Wire confirmed. I'm placing the order today. Tractors should arrive in 60 to 75 days. Perfect. I'll need them by July for second half activities. The order went through. 8 new John Deere tractors for Marcus Webb. Largest single purchase in Patterson John Deere's history. Word spread fast in the farming community. Marcus Webb, the guy who'd been farming with a 1968 International and a beat-up 4430, just bought $2.8 million in new equipment. Cash. Other farmers asked, where'd Marcus get nearly $3 million? The answer, he saved it. 10 years of sacrificing, saving, building. By August 2024, all 8 tractors were delivered. Marcus now farmed 1,080 acres, 480 owned, 800 rented, with modern equipment. His operation was completely transformed. His income projection for 2024, net approximately $340,000. His net worth, roughly $2.1 million after equipment purchase. At 38, Marcus had built more wealth than most farmers twice his age. In September 2024, Marcus was interviewed by Farm Journal magazine. They asked, "What drove you to work that hard for that long?" Marcus answered, "Revenge, not cruel revenge. But I wanted to prove to Steve Patterson and to myself that being poor wasn't permanent, that being rejected wasn't the end, that if you work harder than everyone else, sacrifice more than everyone else, and stay disciplined for long enough, you can build anything." Do you regret the 6 years working 2 jobs? Every day. I missed my daughter's first steps, her first words, her first day of school. I missed family dinners, weekends, holidays. I was always working. But I also know that if I hadn't done that, I'd still be renting all my land, farming with old equipment, barely making it. The sacrifice bought my family's future. The article ran in October 2024. Included a photo of Marcus standing in front of his 8 new John Deere tractors, arms crossed, satisfied smile. Caption, "From credit rejection to 2.8 cash purchase, how one farmer turned too poor into too rich to care." Steve Patterson read the article, called Marcus. Marcus, I read the Farm Journal piece. I wanted to say, I'm proud of you. What you built is remarkable, and I'm sorry I didn't see your potential 10 years ago. Marcus appreciated the call. Steve, you couldn't have known. I barely knew. But getting rejected lit a fire. Sometimes the best thing that happens to you is someone telling you no. Would you have worked as hard if I'd approved your credit? Marcus thought. Probably not. I'd have bought that used 4430, farmed casually, made decent money, but I wouldn't have pushed myself like I did. Your rejection forced me to go all in, forced me to prove something, so in a way, thank you. The dealer called him too poor for credit. 10 years later, the farmer paid $500K cash, $2.8 million cash for 8 new tractors. The rejection that seemed like the end became the beginning. Sometimes being told you can't is the best motivation to prove you absolutely can. But the story of those 10 years, the actual day-to-day grind that turned Marcus from too poor to $2.8 million cash buyer, deserves deeper examination. Because what Marcus did wasn't heroic or glamorous. It was brutal, exhausting, and nearly broke him multiple times. Let's examine year by year what Marcus actually sacrificed. Year 1, 2014. The crushing beginning. Marcus started farming in May 2014 after the credit rejection. Bought the 1968 International 856 for $4,200. Spent 3 weeks getting it operational, evenings and weekends while still working construction full-time. His schedule: wake 4:45 a.m., leave for construction site 5:30 a.m., work construction 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., drive to farm, work farm 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., home by 9:30 p.m., eat, sleep, repeat. Weekends: farm 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Total work hours per week: construction 45 hours, farming 35 hours, total 80 hours. His daughter Mia was 3 months old. He saw her maybe 30 minutes per day. His wife, Amy, worked 3 12-hour night shifts per week as an ER nurse, slept 4 hours, cared for Mia during the day. Their combined sleep average: Marcus 5 hours per night, Amy 4 hours on work nights, 6 on non-work nights. In June 2014, Marcus's 856 broke down during planting. Hydraulic failure. Tractor was 46 years old. Things broke. Marcus couldn't afford a mechanic at $85 per hour. So he spent 4 days diagnosing the problem, 2 days sourcing parts, 3 days installing them himself. Lost a week of planting. That week cost him approximately 18 acres of optimal planting window, probably 15 to 20 bushels per acre yield loss. Lost income, roughly $2,200. Marcus cried that week, sat in his truck at 10 p.m. after finally getting the 856 running again, called his wife. "Amy, I don't know if I can do this. We're barely surviving. I'm never home. Mia doesn't know me. And Steve Patterson was probably right. Maybe I should find a different career." Amy said, "You can quit. I'll support whatever you decide, but I know you. You don't quit. Finish this year, then decide." Marcus finished, grossed $41,000, netted $8,400 after rent and all expenses, saved it all, added to his remaining $8,800 from construction savings, total savings $27,200, not much, but it was something. Year 2, 2015, the expansion gamble. Marcus rented an additional 160 acres in 2015. Now farming 400 acres with 1 tractor and borrowed equipment. His construction job gave him a $2,800 raise. His farming grossed $64,000, netted $14,800. Total saved $14,800 from farming plus $7,600 from construction overtime. Total $22,400. Running savings total $40,600. But 2015 was the year Marcus's marriage almost collapsed. In August, Amy confronted him. "Marcus, you've been home for dinner twice in 3 months. Mia asks where Daddy is every night. I tell her you're working, but she's 15 months old. She doesn't understand. She just knows you're gone, and I'm exhausted. Working nights, caring for a toddler during the day, sleeping 4 hours. I can't do this much longer." Marcus knew she was right. "What do you want me to do? Quit farming? Quit construction? We need both incomes to save." "I don't know what I want. I just know this isn't sustainable." They almost split that month. Decided to try counseling. The counselor asked, "How long are you willing to live like this?" Marcus said, 5 more years. By 2020, I'll either have enough to farm full-time and quit construction, or I'll admit it's not working and quit farming." Amy agreed. 5 years, 2020. Then we re-evaluate. That deadline, 2020, became their light at the end of the tunnel. Year 3, 2016, the first major purchase. By end of 2015, Marcus had $49,600 saved. Corn prices were okay, 3.65s. He farmed 400 acres, grossed $68,200, netted $18,400. Construction overtime added $6,800. Total saved in 2016, $25,200. Running total, $74,800. In December 2016, a bankruptcy auction listed a 1974 John Deere 4430. Marcus attended. Tractor had 8,200 hours, needed minor work but solid. Bidding started at $6,000. Marcus bid $11,800, won it. Now he had 2 tractors, could farm more efficiently, could expand further if opportunity came. His neighbors noticed. Marcus bought a second tractor. He's serious about this farming thing. But they also noticed, Marcus looks terrible. He's lost 20 pounds. He's grey at 30, works himself to death. Marcus was aware he'd gone from 185 pounds to 164 pounds. He had stress headaches 3 times a week. His doctor warned him about blood pressure. Marcus ignored it. I'll rest in 2020. Year 4, 2017. The breaking point. In May 2017, Marcus's mother was diagnosed with cancer. Stage 3 ovarian, needed immediate treatment. Marcus's father had died in 2009. His mother had limited insurance, treatment costs, $84,000 over 2 years. Marcus had $74,800 saved. He faced a choice: use savings for his mother's treatment, or let her go into debt, declare bankruptcy for medical costs. He chose family, gave his mother $40,000 from savings, kept $34,800 for farming. Amy supported it. She's your mother. We'll rebuild the savings. Marcus worked even harder, added 4th and 5th days of construction over time. Now working 85-90 hours per week, farming 400 acres, grossed 71,400, netted 22,600. Construction overtime 8,200, total saved 3,800. Running savings total 65,600 after the $40,000 medical gift. His mother survived. Treatment worked. By 2019, she was cancer-free. She tried to repay Marcus. He refused. Mom, you raised me. You paid for everything growing up. This is my turn. She cried, told him, you're working yourself to death for me and for your dream. Please don't die trying to prove something. I'm not dying. I'm building. Year 5, 2018. The opportunity. In 2018, an older farmer Marcus rented from, Herman Price, age 74, offered to sell Marcus 160 acres. Price, $2,140 per acre, $450,400 total, below market. Herman wanted Marcus to have it because you work harder than anyone I've ever seen. Marcus had $65,600 saved, needed $454,400. Even if he put all his savings down, he'd need to finance $389,000. Banks might not approve that. But Marcus applied. His loan officer looked at his history: construction job for 7 years, farming for 4 years, consistent income, 0 debt, $65,600 savings, purchasing land below market value, approved. $454,400 loan, $65,600 down finance, $388,800 at 5.2% over 20 years. Monthly payment, $2,620, high payment. But owning land changed everything. Banks would lend to landowners. Equipment dealers would extend credit to landowners. Marcus had collateral. He bought the 160 acres in November 2018, now owned land. His farming operation netted $26,800 in 2018, construction $9,400, total saved $36,200, but went to pay down other costs, so running savings remained low. But his equity in land was building. That mattered more than cash. Year 6. 2019, the big decision March. 2019, Marcus turned 33. 6 years since the credit rejection, he'd worked 2 jobs for 6 years straight, hadn't taken a vacation, hadn't had a day off, hadn't attended his daughter's school events or his wife's family gatherings. His daughter Mia was 5, starting kindergarten. Marcus attended orientation, sat in tiny chairs, listened to teacher explain the schedule. Realized he'd miss everything. Construction until 3 p.m., farming until 9 p.m. He'd never see school events, never help with homework, never attend parent-teacher conferences. He told Amy, "I can't keep doing this. I'm missing everything. Mia won't remember me as her father. She'll remember me as the ghost who lived in our house but was never there." Amy said, "Then quit construction, farm full-time. We'll live on less money. I've got a land payment now, $2,600 a month, plus operating costs, plus living expenses. If I quit construction, we lose $52,000 in annual income. Can't survive that. Then we wait one more year, 2020, like we planned." Marcus pushed through 2019, farmed 560 acres, his 160 owned plus 400 rented, grossed $104,000. After land payment and expenses, netted $31,200. Construction, $7,800 over time. Saved, $35,400. Running savings, minimal, but equity growing. Year 7, 2020. The Liberation March 2020, COVID-19 hit. Construction sites shut down. Marcus was laid off. Initially panicked, lost $52,000 in annual construction income, but then realized this is the opportunity. Farming was designated essential. He could farm full-time. Finally. He filed for unemployment, $420 per week, $21,840 annually. Less than construction, but something. And he could farm 100% of his time. In May 2020, he rented an additional 240 acres, now farming 800 acres. With full-time attention, his yields increased. Costs decreased because he could scout more carefully, spray more precisely, harvest more timely. 2020 results grossed $176,000 from 800 acres. After all costs, including land payment, netted $87,000. Saved $72,000 after living expenses. For the first time in 6 years, Marcus saw his family, had dinner with them nightly, helped Mia with homework, attended Amy's nursing award ceremony, felt human. Amy told him in December 2020, "This is the happiest I've seen you in 7 years. You smile now, you laugh, you're present." Marcus cried, "I forgot what normal felt like." Running savings by end of 2020, $107,400. Years 8 through 10, 2021, 2023. The explosion. With construction gone permanently, Marcus never went back. He farmed full-time, bought equipment at auctions, expanded carefully. His reputation spread. 2021. Farmed 960 acres, netted $104,000, saved $86,000, running total $193,400. 2022, farmed 1,020 acres, corn prices strong, netted $118,000, saved $96,000, running total $289,400. 2023, farmed 1,280 acres, bought another 160 acres at auction with $184,000 cash down. Grain prices exceptional. Netted $142,000, saved $118,000, running total $407,400, plus equity in 480 acres owned, worth approximately $1.9 million with $628,000 owed, equity $1, $27 million. By January 2024, Marcus had $511,000 cash saved, plus $197 million equity. Total, $178 million net worth at age 38. The April 2024 tractor purchase, $2.8 million cash, required Marcus to liquidate some assets. He sold 160 acres he'd bought in 2023 for $648,000, profit on quick sale. Combined with his $511,000 savings, he had $1.16 million, borrowed $1.7 million against his remaining 320 acres at favorable terms, owned them with substantial equity. Total, $2, $86 million available. Bought 8 tractors for $284 million, kept $20,000 reserve. The tractors arrived July-August 2024. Marcus stood in his yard, looking at 8 brand-new John Deere tractors lined up, his wife and daughter beside him. Mia, age 10, asked, "Dad, why did you buy so many tractors?" Marcus explained, 10 years ago, a man told me I was too poor to buy one old tractor on credit. I decided that day I'd come back and buy multiple new tractors with cash. It took 10 years, but we did it." Was it worth it? Marcus looked at his daughter, thought about the 6 years he'd missed, the birthdays he'd worked through, the school events he'd skipped, the family dinners he'd eaten standing up at 10 p.m. I don't know yet. Ask me in 10 more years, when you understand sacrifice. The dealer called him too poor for credit. 10 years later, the farmer paid $500K cash, actually $2.8 million cash, for 8 new tractors. The rejection that destroyed his pride rebuilt his determination. Sometimes the worst moment becomes the defining moment. Sometimes you can't becomes watch me. The community reaction to Marcus's tractor purchase revealed something about human nature and perception. When word spread that Marcus Webb bought $2.8 million in new equipment, farmers divided into 3 groups. Group 1. The admirers. These were younger farmers, people who'd struggled, people who understood what Marcus had done. They saw the purchase as proof that hard work still mattered. Daniel Chen, age 32, farming 320 acres. Marcus proved you don't need family money or inheritance. You just need willingness to work harder than everyone else. He's my hero. Group 2. The skeptics. These were older farmers who couldn't believe the story. They assumed Marcus had inherited money, won the lottery, or made money illegally. The idea that someone could save $2, $8 million through farming and construction work in 10 years seemed impossible. Robert Henderson, age 67. There's no way Marcus saved that money legitimately. He either inherited it, got lucky on crypto, or something else. Nobody works their way to $3 million in 10 years. Group 3. The jealous. These were farmers who'd had advantages Marcus never had, family land, inheritance, generational wealth, but accomplished less. They resented Marcus's success because it exposed their own mediocrity. Carl Stevens, age 54, inherited 640 acres from his father, still struggled financially. Good for Marcus, I guess. Must be nice to get lucky. I've been farming 40 years and don't have that kind of money. Marcus encountered all 3 groups. The admirers energized him. The skeptics annoyed him. The jealous ones hurt him. In September 2024, at a Farm Bureau meeting, Carl Stevens made a comment. Easy to save money when you're young and have no expenses. Marcus doesn't know real farming, dealing with debt, dealing with land payments for decades. Marcus overheard. Walked over. Carl, I worked 80-hour weeks for 6 years, construction and farming simultaneously. I missed my daughter's first 5 years. My wife worked nights and raised our kid alone while I chased this. I paid for 160 acres with money I saved dollar by dollar, then bought more land, then expanded. What part of that is no expenses or easy? Carl had no response, walked away. But the encounter bothered Marcus. He told Amy that night, "People think I got lucky. They don't see the work. They don't see what we gave up." Amy replied, "Let them think what they want. You know what you did. I know what you did. That's enough." The 8 tractors transformed Marcus's operation. He could now farm 1,600 plus acres efficiently. His labor costs dropped because he wasn't constantly repairing old equipment. His yields improved because modern technology optimized everything. 2023 projected income, $340,000 net. 2024 projected $380,000 for $20,000 depending on prices. By age 40, 2025, Marcus would likely have net worth exceeding $2 million. By age 50, 2036, probably $6 to $8 million if growth continued, all starting from credit rejection in 2014. Steve Patterson, the dealer who'd rejected Marcus, struggled with the aftermath of the sale. He'd made $142,000 commission on the 8-tractor deal, his largest ever. But he felt guilt about having rejected Marcus 10 years earlier. In October 2024, Steve called Marcus. "Marcus, I've been thinking about our conversation in April, about how I rejected you in 2014. I wanted to ask, do you think I was wrong to reject you?" Marcus thought carefully. No, you were right to reject me. I had no credit history, no assets, no track record. Lending me money was risky. Any banker would have made the same call. Then why did it work out for you? Because your rejection made me angry enough to prove you wrong. If you'd approved my credit, I'd have bought that used 4430, farmed casually, made okay money. But rejection lit a fire, made me willing to work 2 jobs for 6 years, made me willing to sacrifice everything to prove I wasn't too poor. Your rejection was the best thing that happened to me. Steve processed that. So by being right in the moment, I helped create your success. Exactly. You couldn't have known I'd react the way I did. Most people you reject probably quit or find easier paths. I went the hard path because I was stubborn. That's not your fault or your credit. That's just who I am. Steve appreciated the grace. Marcus, you're a better man than I am. If someone had rejected me like I rejected you, I'd hold a grudge. You're thankful. I'm thankful for the outcome, not thankful for the 6 years of hell, but the outcome justifies the hell. That conversation became the basis for a workshop Steve and Marcus co-led in November 2024, What Rejection Teaches. They spoke to young farmers about handling rejection, turning setbacks into motivation, using anger constructively. Marcus told his story. Steve told his side. Together, they demonstrated that rejection isn't always wrong, and success isn't always obvious. One young farmer, aged 24, asked, Marcus, if you could go back to 2014, would you choose to be approved for credit or rejected? Marcus answered, rejected, absolutely rejected, because approval would have given me a comfortable path. Rejection gave me an extraordinary path. Comfortable makes you soft, rejection makes you hard, and hard work builds empires. By end of 2024, Marcus was farming 1,680 acres with 8 new tractors, modern equipment, optimized systems. His operation was one of the most efficient in the county. His income exceeded most farmers with twice his acreage. And every day when he drove past Patterson John Deere, he remembered that April 2014 morning when Steve Patterson told him he was too poor for credit. Remembered the humiliation, remembered the anger, and remembered the promise he'd made to himself, I'll come back with cash. In December 2024, Farm Progress magazine named Marcus one of 10 farmers who proved the skeptics wrong. The article detailed his journey from credit rejection to $2.8 million cash purchase. The article concluded, Marcus Webb's story proves that the American dream, work hard, sacrifice, succeed, still exists in agriculture, but it also proves the cost. Webb missed 6 years of family life, worked himself to exhaustion, risked his marriage, nearly destroyed his health. He succeeded, but success required everything he had. The question isn't whether his story is inspiring. The question is whether the cost was worth the prize. Marcus read that conclusion, showed it to Amy. What do you think? Was it worth it? Amy, now 42, looked at their daughter Mia, now 10, then looked at the farm they'd built. I don't know. We have financial security. We have land. We have equipment. But we also have 6 years we can't get back. Mia's first 6 years, your 30s, my 30s, those are gone. So, was it worth it? Financially, yes. Emotionally, I'm still deciding. Marcus nodded. That's fair. Mia, listening, said, Dad, I don't remember you being gone. I just remember you coming home and now you're always here. So I think it was worth it. Marcus hugged his daughter. Maybe she was right. Maybe the sacrifice justified the outcome. Maybe proving Steve Patterson wrong justified missing 6 years. Or maybe not. Maybe both things were true. Success and regret, pride and loss, winning and paying too much. The dealer called him too poor for credit. 10 years later, the farmer paid $500K cash. No, $2.8 million cash for 8 new tractors. The rejection that seemed like the end became the beginning. The humiliation became motivation. The no became, watch me do it anyway. Sometimes the worst thing that happens is the best thing that happens. Sometimes being told you're too poor is exactly what you need to hear to become too rich to care. And sometimes years later, standing in front of 8 brand new tractors worth nearly $3 million, you realize that proving people wrong cost everything but gave everything. Marcus Webb proved Steve Patterson wrong. But the real question is, who won? The farmer who sacrificed 6 years to buy tractors with cash, or the dealer who made $142,000 commission on the sale? Or maybe they both won and both lost, and that's the truth about ambition. It costs everything and gives everything, and you never quite know if the trade was worth it. But Marcus made the trade, lived with it, built from it, and 10 years after being called too poor, owned an empire. That's success. Even if success sometimes tastes like regret.